Good morning, all, and welcome to this week's episode of the CEO Momcast. I have with me Jaclyn, I don't know if your title CEO, VP, creator, co-creator behind Mod Assistance,
I
but
like
I'm going to
I
go
like all of those.
all of those. Okay, perfect. That's great. I'm going to go ahead and let Jaclyn explain the business, tell us a little bit about how she got started.
Yes. So our business, my business is Mod Assistance. So what we are is we are an assistant agency. So we work fractionally with our clients to help them in their personal lives and their professional lives. So we have assistants on our team that can help our clients in their homes with household type tasks. So on our personal assistant side, we can help with laundry and errands and meal prep and meal planning and home organization and everything revolving around the household. And then we also have virtual assistants all around the country who can help with more administrative type tasks. So on that side of the business, we're more working with a business owner, an entrepreneur, somebody in their professional life to help them with emails, calendar, data entry, social media, more on the business side of things. So we kind of have two sides to what we do.
Okay, and the personal assistant side, is that offered nationwide or is there just certain areas right now?
Just certain areas right now. Yeah. So we're just in certain cities. So right now we started in Denver, Colorado, and then we expanded down to Dallas and Austin, Texas, and most recently into the Phoenix area. So we just
Okay,
have those four cities right now.
okay.
Mhm.
And for anyone who's never really heard about this before, especially from a business point of view, virtual assistants, are you seeing a huge attraction to it? Is it a booming business?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we started back in 2016, and back then it was already starting to boom a little bit. A lot of people were starting to ask about it, but I also found that when I would go to, like a party or something, and someone asked me what I did, and I said I have a virtual assistant company, it was followed up with, "What is that?" There was a lot of explaining behind it, and then COVID hit and everybody started working from home. And that's really when it took off. And now I think a lot of people know much more what a virtual assistant is. It's a little bit less explaining. It's a more familiar term. So yes, it is definitely booming. There are so many options that someone can go with if they're looking to find a virtual assistant.
Now, what about the personal assistant side? I feel like that is something that's not for everyone. When you hear that you have a personal assistant, you automatically assume it's for wealthy clientele and
Yes, yeah, and that's really what we try to, I guess, get past, specifically because we're fractional. So with us, I mean, the smallest amount of time you can work with us is 3 to 4 hours a week. So we really can help somebody just a little bit, like just take the edge off of what they need help with. And that's really new. And a lot of people don't know that. I mean, just like you mentioned, a lot of people think it is a full-time job to have someone in your household and it's just for really wealthy people, like celebrities or something like that. So yes, it definitely is new to a lot of people, but once you explain it a little bit, I usually get a lot of, "Oh wow, I could use that." That's usually the response I get.
Mhm. I think like once a month I threaten my husband, like, I'm gonna get a cleaning lady, I'm gonna get a personal assistant, I'm gonna do
Yep,
something. I can't keep doing this all. And then,
exactly.
we just do. But yes, it is something that I think that every home owner, home woman can benefit from.
Yes, absolutely. Just like I said, just a little bit of help. And I usually hear
Right.
a lot of our clients start with a cleaning company. I think that's the first thing. A lot of people are happy to hand off and delegate. And then if they need just a little bit more, then we're usually the second call.
Does that include like home organization,
Mhm.
your personal assistants? Okay.
Yeah,
Because I know there's been a lot of buzz around that, people paying others to come in and organize their house. And because sometimes you just don't know what to do with the space that you have.
exactly. Yeah. And some people, I mean, and this is me, honestly, I am not one of those people who can look at a space and figure out how to organize it. I just can't. I look at it and I'm overwhelmed and I need someone to guide me. And that's who
Right.
we have on our team. And even more so than the initial organization, it's the keeping up with the
Mhm.
organization that is really difficult. So if you have an assistant coming in week to week to help just keep up with it, because sometimes that's the hardest part.
Right. Now, you said you mentioned that you started in 2016. How did this come about?
Yeah. Yeah. So in 2016, the business actually started with myself and my sister. So my sister was living in Denver at the time, and she came across this business that was for sale, and it was a personal assistant business. So it was this woman who had been running a business for about 8 years, and it was her and maybe just 4 or 5 other people on the team. It was pretty small, but still successful. And she was about ready to get out. She was like, I'm done, kind of semi-retired. So we approached her and we said that we think this is a fantastic idea. So we ended up purchasing her personal assistant business from her. And then we added on the virtual side of it, the business side of it, because that's something that we really knew a lot about, was the business administrative side. So we kind of added that in and ended up changing the name and restructuring a little bit. But yeah, we got the idea from this woman who was already doing it. And like I said, was really successful. People were raving about how much she helped them.
Okay. And what is your background that made this such a good fit for you?
Yeah, so I went to school for marketing, so that's helpful, I think, in anything, honestly.
Anything, yep.
But my first job out of college, very randomly, you get out of college and you just apply to everything that you see. So I applied to be a personal assistant for a really successful doctor in Columbus, Ohio. And the title was a personal assistant, but I actually split my day. So half of the day I was at the office with her and I did some marketing tasks and I just kind of helped with her schedule and things around the office. And then at 3 o'clock, I would leave the office and I would go, actually, it was probably earlier than that, but about halfway through the day, I'd leave the office and go to her house and do some of the household type tasks. And I'd be there for when the kids got home and I'd help with the laundry and help to organize things and grocery shop and get dinner ready. So I just fell into that. I never really had an interest. I wasn't searching for that, but I absolutely loved it. I loved it. It was still like one of my favorite positions I've ever had. It was just so much fun. So then when this opportunity came along, I thought, oh, this is perfect. Like I loved doing this when I was in it earlier, like couldn't be better.
Okay. And do you still run this business with your sister?
Nope, it's just me now.
Okay.
She's kind of a serial entrepreneur, that one. So she's moved on to other things, other crazy successful, she's amazing things. But yeah, as of the end of 2022, it's just me.
Just you. Okay. And how do you balance this, running a business across multiple states and your personal life?
Yeah, that's what we're all hoping for, right? Is the balance. And that's
Yeah.
really hard to get. I would say I live for a schedule. And I think that's the only way, me personally, I would be able to get as close to balance as I could. I live through the Google Calendar. I mean, I have that calendar. It's connected to my husband. It has all the kids' activities. It has the travel. It has my team's birthdays on it. I mean, it has everything. I feel like if someone took away my calendar, it would be the worst day
I
of my
know,
life.
right? Don't know what you're doing. Yeah.
Yes. So I think that, like I said, for me is the only way to balance things. I'm not necessarily somebody who is naturally organized. Again, it's kind of funny. That's who my team is. Everybody on my team is that type of person, but I am not. So I would say the only thing that keeps me feeling somewhat balanced is having things scheduled, split between work and personal, and all there for me. So I know what's coming up in the day.
Okay. Now, we already previously talked about this being a booming industry. What is the competition like in your area?
Yeah, so it's interesting because something that we do that not a lot of companies do is we handle both sides. So we have the personal assistant services and then the virtual assistant. And most companies are one or the other. So usually you'll see a more local company that does personal assistant concierge type services. And then there are a ton of virtual assistant companies. So it's interesting that we don't really have, that I know of, a competitor that does both.
Okay.
But if we're kind of looking at the virtual assistant side, because that really is what's booming, there are, like I said, tons and tons of options. So of course you have plenty of virtual assistant companies that are overseas. So all of the assistants themselves are overseas in the Philippines and India, honestly, all over the world now.
Right.
And that gives the opportunity to have a really affordable rate to the person that's paying for it. But there are a lot of really great companies here in the US. There are several large companies that have thousands of assistants. And then there are a lot of companies like Mod who are smaller and can still provide great services if that's what you're looking for. So I think there are a lot of options if if you look at your budget and really what you're looking to get out of an assistant, there's so many ways you can go.
What is your process like? Is it easy to navigate to be matched with an assistant?
Yeah. I mean, we definitely take our time with that.
Okay.
And something that I really want to be doing is pairing the assistant with the client. And it's not only tasks that the assistant has done before and has experience in, but tasks that they enjoy doing.
Okay.
If someone is enjoying what they're doing, they're going to do a better job. Everyone's
Mm.
going to be happier. So with our team members, we do require experience. Everybody has to have at least 2 years of experience in the field in order to join the team. But then I also ask them what they like doing. On the personal side, I have some assistants who love meal prep. They love to be in the kitchen. They want to plan out the meals and grocery shop. That is like their happy place. And then I have others who said, no, cooking's not really for me. I'd rather be doing the home organization. So I think that's really important to have a successful match, is to have the assistant actually doing something that they really enjoy. And that just really helps the client out because they've done it before, they're comfortable with it, they're excited to get up every single day to do it.
That is super important, and it's hard these days in this rat race to find a job that you enjoy doing. Sounds kind of like this is the perfect bit of balance. You
Yeah.
can, it's like you're at home doing your own thing, but you're doing it for somebody else and getting paid, which is a bonus.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And there's always, everybody doesn't like every single part. I don't think I have
Right.
any assistants who say they'll love doing laundry, but they'll do it. It's not a big
Right.
deal.
Right. I mean, I love laundry. I just hate folding it and putting it away for five
That's
people.
it. That is the thing. Everyone can
Yeah.
do it. No one can get it into the drawers. That's where you get stuck.
I know. Um, when you started this business, obviously things have changed. It's grown and gone across different markets now. What is something that you learned through the growth process?
Oh, yeah. I think I don't want to say the hardest part, but something that I really have had to take my time and gotten used to. And I'm really glad we slowly grew, is finding the team members. It is, I guess, you'll hear from any business owner or anybody who's even a manager these days. A lot of people say it's hard to find good people. And
Hmm.
honestly, some days I feel that way. Some days you schedule interviews and people don't show up, or people show up in their pajamas and or sitting in their car, and you're just kind of like, oh, you're not taking this seriously. So that has been a learning experience, is having to navigate how to find the right people for our team, for our clientele. We have a specific clientele that we're working with, and not everyone's going to be the right fit for it. So as we grew, that is definitely something that I was new at when I started the business. I was new at recruiting people and interviewing and running assessments and running background checks. That was all so new to me. But I feel like now, being 8 years in, we have a really good process down. And while not every interview is going to be great, we really do find great people. And it's so exciting when you get that good interview and you're like, yes, this is a perfect fit for the team. It's the best.
It's funny. My husband and I have that conversation all the time. I mean, we don't particularly want to say that it's a younger generation, but it seems like a lot of people just don't have a work ethic anymore.
Yeah, I know.
And,
Well, yeah, and they're always looking for balance. That's the thing. They're all
right.
about the balance.
Yeah. And thinking something like this is going to give them total freedom and they can come and go as they please and work when they want is what everybody wants these days, which
Mhm.
don't get me wrong, I get.
Yeah.
I get, but you still have to work.
Yeah. Oh, you're absolutely right. You're right. And that's hard. And you find a lot of people like that who think this is going to be their ticket to have this amazing, amazing, flexible life that they can do
Right.
whatever they want and travel all the time. But you're still working for someone. Someone is relying on you for their email, for their calendar, for important things, for travel details. I mean, those are important things in someone's life. So, yes, it offers a lot of flexibility, but you also still have to have that work ethic.
Right. And outside of that, what's been a big challenge of being a business owner?
I would say the biggest challenge for me and something that I wasn't very naturally good at, and I actually heard I never knew how to say this in my own words, but it was in the back of my mind, and then I heard Robert Refkin, who is the founder of Compass Real Estate, the Compass Realty. He said on a podcast that his superpower as a business owner is that he is comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I feel like that struck such a chord with me because as a business owner, you have to get comfortable with uncomfortable conversations, with hard decisions, with letting people down sometimes. And that is not something I was naturally good at. And I don't know if people really told me that would be such a big part of honestly your everyday when you first get into starting a business and running a business. It's always something, there's always something that comes up, and half the time it is uncomfortable and you don't want to do it and you wish you could just like crawl under the covers and it'll go away, but you can't. You have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. So that always stuck with me.
That's good. And again, I think, I keep coming back to this whole generational thing. We
Mm-hmm.
have to be so careful in what we say to people these days, and everybody wants to be friends outside of, but these are places of business. So it is very hard to have those conversations with people.
Mm-hmm. It is. And it is even now, like we're at the point in my business where I have managers. So then I have myself, but then I have managers running the teams as well. So then I am helping them and coaching them to get comfortable with these conversations. So again, I'm like so glad that we grew slowly, because if this was in year two and I had to start training people and having uncomfortable conversations, I wouldn't have been able to do it because I was still learning it myself. And like you said, a
Right.
lot of people just don't have that naturally these days.
Yes, it's true. We don't want to offend anybody in what we
Yes.
say.
Mhm. Yes, you have to be careful with what you say sometimes. That is true.
Right. So, so where do you see yourself in the business in about 5 years?
I would love, as any business owner would say, I would love to continue growing. I would love to have more markets where we offer our personal assistant services. That is such a part of our business that I really enjoy. I really do. Just, I guess, from the job that I used to have, I really do enjoy that part of our services is doing the personal thing. And I think I hear from clients, and that really is so helpful in their everyday lives. And I love hearing how thankful they are to have somebody there just to help them with a few hours a week. So I would love to continue growing and have more markets. I don't have a certain number in mind. I really just think as I go, a lot of the times I'll start researching some areas and where I think we would be a really good fit and talking to people. And then once it feels right, then we decide to go into that market. So that's always the goal, is to have more of those markets.
Is it easy to break into a new market, or is it a long process of making sure you have the right people in place first?
Yeah, that is the hardest part. That is the hardest part. When we started in Phoenix earlier this year, we have such a great team now, but we started searching for people in January and didn't have a team ready to go until March. And our
Okay.
starting team is only 3 people. but it took us that long to find the right people, and nothing against Phoenix. This is every market.
Yeah.
Um, but that is always the hardest part when you get into it, because you have to have the right people there ready to go, willing to do this and fit into our culture and who we are. And when you're first getting started, I think it's even harder because no one has any idea who you are.
Right.
I mean, in Denver, we've been there for 8 years, so we get referrals constantly. And it's a little bit easier to find people now because we're known. But going brand new, I mean, people have never heard of you. They don't know what you're doing.
Right.
Unfortunately, sometimes people think we're a scam. Like, it's just a lot to deal with.
Right. All the emotions. So
Mhm.
when you went from Denver out to the Texas area, was it based on referrals or it was just something you decided to dive into?
So when we went from Denver to Dallas, we just kind of compared the markets and decided that was a really good second market for us. I will say when we expanded to Austin, it was because for over a year, we had been getting people from Austin calling our Dallas office,
Okay.
asking if we were in Austin. So that was probably our easiest expansion
Right. It was like
I
a meant
did.
to be.
Yes. That was perfect. That was honestly the easiest kind of what market that we've opened. But that won't happen every time. I realize
Right.
that. But yes, it usually is me kind of talking to people and looking to see, based on demographics and who all, and looking to make sure we not only have the assistants but the clients. Make sure to work.
So you're based in a lot of big cities, obviously, which makes sense for a business like this. Do you get requests from smaller towns and cities outside of, like, you willing to commute?
Yeah, yeah. Like some of the suburbs outside of the cities.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
so our kind of market does go, miles outside of the city. So
Okay.
in the Denver area, we can go all the way up to Boulder, which depending on where you are, could be a half hour to an hour and a half ride for
Okay.
you. Dallas obviously is a huge market. I mean, DFW, so we can go all the way over to Fort Worth. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so we definitely can expand. It just depends on, again, having the person. If we have an assistant there, then yes, we can absolutely help.
And have you noticed any particular areas that take more virtual assistants? Is there anywhere that you don't have an office right now with private assistants, just virtual? Like there's an area that's kind of say screaming at you right now?
Yes, I have an area in mind for our next
Okay.
possible market, and it actually is one that we've gotten a few calls over the past several years asking if we have plans to expand to this area. Um, and I've started looking a little bit on paper. We definitely like to go to, I would prefer to be in, I don't know if it would be considered a mid-sized city, but I don't personally want to be in the major cities. Like, I don't want
Right.
to go to New York or Chicago or LA. Those feel very big to me. But then again,
Hmm.
Denver, Dallas, those are big cities too. So yeah, if it's I definitely have one in mind, and I've gotten some requests, and we'll see
Okay.
maybe next year.
That's good though. Referrals, right? This word of
Yes.
mouth. People are learning about you. And if somebody who was deciding to start a virtual assistant company came to you and asked for one piece of advice, what would it be?
Yes, I would say to focus on the skills. There are so many, blog posts or courses or whatever online right now to teach you how to open a virtual assistant company, which I think can be great. I think a lot of people do love courses and learn a lot from them. But what I've noticed is they don't tend to focus on the skills. And at the end of the day, you need to be able to do the job to be successful.
Right.
Um, if you're somebody who has been an administrative assistant or an executive assistant for 10 years, you have the skills. Don't worry about it. You're good. Focus on the business. But a lot of the times I see people we get a lot of teachers, and I would love to support teachers, but the virtual assistant, the administrative job is very different. And if you've never run someone's email inbox before and your first client asks you to run their inbox and you have no idea how to do it, I mean, that's going to be really frustrating for everybody, and you'll probably fall flat.
Right.
So I think a lot of people forget to focus on Make sure you know how to use Excel from top to bottom. Make sure you know how to use Outlook and G Suite and Canva and Slack, all of these important platforms that your clients are likely going to be using. If you're coming on as a virtual assistant, they don't want to teach you. They want you to already know how to do it. And then they just want to kind of teach you how they like, their ways of using it. So I think focusing on the skills is so important and often forgotten.
That's true. We've gotten into so many different apps and things that do stuff for us. I think we've forgotten as a
Yeah,
society how to do a lot of things.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So, what is a trend that you see for this year? It doesn't necessarily need to pertain to your business, but I mean, obviously, something related. You're in such a niche market
Mhm.
that is there something that you're seeing that's coming out heavily in 2024?
Yeah, I think anyone probably would answer AI, but that is the world we live in right now. And that is definitely a hot topic for our industry, especially on the virtual assistant side, because when it first really started getting going, it was like, oh, well, is AI going to replace your business? And I don't know what's going to happen down the line
Mhm.
in 10 years, but right now, I think if someone isn't getting used to AI and learning how to make it more efficient, learning how to make them more efficient, they're going to fall behind. So I think AI is definitely something that a lot of people are focusing on as in the virtual assistant space, and learning how to use it to our advantage to make us better at our job and make us more efficient so that we can help our clients even better than we have before.
Are you seeing a lot of clients who are using platforms with AI that your assistants are having to okay,
Yes,
okay.
absolutely. And it really isn't anything too difficult yet. It really is just kind of like everyone's just dipping their toes in.
Right.
But just doing that, I think, is enough. I think clients just want to, just like us, want to start finding systems that help with what they do in their particular job and industry. And yeah, the assistants are much more open to learning it than they were, a year ago when we really first started the conversation.
Okay. Well, for all my listeners, if you are in the market for a virtual assistant or live in any of the markets that Jaclyn mentioned and are looking for somebody as a personal assistant, certainly reach out to Mod Assistants. There is a website, there is an Instagram page with all the information, services they offer, and it tells you a lot about the fractional pricing that Jaclyn mentioned. Um, and yeah, that's it. Thanks for chatting with us today, Jaclyn.
Thank you so much. This was great.